princess casually picked up a portrait while selecting her husband, and accidentally chose her childhood rival. The emperor knew the two had never gotten along, so he let the princess choose again, urging her to marry the prince she had always liked. But the princess insisted on choosing this rival. It turned out the princess had married the prince in her previous life, but 1 year after the wedding the prince died in a fire. The princess was heartbroken for 3 whole years, visiting the temple every day to pray for her deceased husband, until that day she ran into the prince at the temple, with another woman standing beside him. The princess rushed up frantically to confront him, but the prince pushed her down and she hit the corner of a table. Before dying she swore that if there was a next life, she would never have anything to do with this scumbag again. Unexpectedly in the next second, she was reborn on the day of choosing her husband, and happened to choose her own rival, so she refused her father the emperor's suggestion, and insisted on choosing her rival as the prince consort, because the princess discovered that the days of playful fighting with her rival were actually much warmer than being with the scumbag. Since heaven gave her a chance to start over, she definitely would not choose the wrong person this time. After the selection ceremony ended, the princess just walked out of the hall, and the princes outside were all guessing she had chosen the scumbag. At this moment the scumbag suddenly knelt before her, saying he already had the scheming woman in his heart, begging the princess to stop pestering him. The princess immediately understood that the scumbag had also been reborn. The princess originally wanted to directly state she had not chosen him, but suddenly thought of a brilliant idea, so she announced the prince consort would be revealed on the wedding day, telling the scumbag to open his eyes wide and see clearly then. But just as the princess was about to leave, the scheming woman deliberately bumped into her. The scumbag quickly helped up the scheming woman, and instead accused the princess of forcing her to kneel. The princess only felt heartbroken, remembering how in her previous life she gave everything for the scumbag, but never received even half a bit of his care, yet now he treated the scheming woman with such tenderness. What was even worse was when the scumbag picked up the scheming woman, he deliberately used the scheming woman's leg to trip the princess. Her rival saw this scene and rushed over anxiously to help her up. The princess had not expected her usually frivolous rival would be so worried seeing her injured, while the scumbag only cared about looking after the scheming woman. So after the princess woke up she immediately had people pack up the gifts the scumbag had sent. Those things she once treasured were all packed up ready to return to the scumbag, who knew upon meeting the scumbag was full of himself again, repeatedly emphasizing he only liked the scheming woman, wanting the princess to choose a different prince consort. The princess was too lazy to waste words with him, dropped the items and prepared to leave. Just then the scheming woman suddenly coughed up blood. The scumbag hurriedly found the imperial physician to treat her. The physician said this was a rare poison, and must use the poisoner's fresh blood as a medicine catalyst to detoxify, and the scumbag without thinking decided it was the princess who poisoned her, completely ignoring the princess's explanation, and directly had people hold the princess down. Looking at the scheming woman's pitiful appearance, the scumbag picked up a knife and cut the princess's arm. The weak princess fainted on the spot. 5 days later the emperor organized a hunt, specifically instructing the princes to take good care of the princess who had just recovered. Who knew assassins suddenly appeared along the way. The scumbag without hesitation fled with the scheming woman, leaving the princess alone in danger. Fortunately her rival rescued her in time, jumping off a cliff with her to save their lives. The next day her rival brought the princess her favorite pastries. The princess suddenly remembered her previous life, how her rival would bring her gifts every time he went out, but back then she only had the scumbag in her heart, and completely failed to notice this affection, so she made up her mind not to let her rival down in this life. The night before the wedding her rival suddenly climbed through the window, and gave the princess a wedding gift. The princess did not understand why he was giving her a gift, but her rival said he could not come to the wedding tomorrow, and immediately jumped out the window after speaking. Little did he know her rival was just deliberately avoiding, not wanting to witness the princess he loved marrying someone else. The next day the wedding proceeded as scheduled. The princess specially brought countless treasures from the national treasury, all as her own dowry. Her rival, who originally did not want to attend, also appeared at the scene. At this moment the scumbag was still smugly thinking that even if the princess emptied the national treasury, he still would not like her. Just then a eunuch brought the imperial decree. The princess deliberately handed it to the scumbag to read aloud, but the scumbag said there was no need to read it on the spot. He agreed to marry the princess and that was that, but the princess told him to continue reading. Just as the scumbag began reading, he saw her rival's name and was shocked, and her rival also thought the prince consort must be the scumbag, and was sadly about to leave. However, the name the scumbag reads out is his own.